Okay, so this is my discussion review of the contents of Super Fantasy Brawl, the Kickstarter edition, all in. So this is everything that you could have got with the Kickstarter. There's been quite a few unboxings already, so it's not a true unboxing. I'm not going to go through reopening. I've actually opened up most of this stuff, sleeved the cards and everything else. But I want to talk about the champions and what kind of champions they are to give you an idea of which teams you want to put together. I'll go through some of the finer points you need to think about when you're playing at the game as well. So, starting with the box itself, as most people have said, it is a big box. It's a big old box. But I wanted to show you, I think these 3 points they put down here are really quite important. No dice system, so there's no luck in terms of the damage that you're dealing. It's faction free, that's really important, which is quite unique. And it creates a synergistic action deck. So it's combining these combos of characters together to produce a team that you really want to play. Okay, and I think they're the really important ones. Now, 30-40 minutes, that is actually valid. That's really true. A lot of the time, the timings that they talk about on game boards are completely wrong, and they're so underestimated. But 30-40 minutes, I'd say that's probably true. You're probably looking at an hour for your first game. But after you learn the rules, it's pretty much that. 14 plus, yes. I would say at the higher level, 14 plus. But you can play this with kids. I would say you can go down as young as maybe 9, 10, and you can have a pretty good game. You're going to have to take it easy on them and perhaps play 4 players and just play with the younger kids with yourself, and then have the older kids perhaps playing against. But it's really, really accessible as a game. It's a simple game to learn. It's a hard game to master. It really is true that is the case. So, let's move on to talk about the contents. So the rulebook's really nice. It's obviously components are quite useful to know, especially which statue's which statue goes where, because some of the challenge deck will talk about you need to be adjacent to Rygal's statue. And you want to kind of have the right statue in the right place. So you got Rygal, Esme, and Garnet as the guys. But yeah, it's good to see what the tokens are, especially, and the different characters and who they're called, rather than looking up the cards. So that's quite a nice little start. And then, once you've got your first kind of couple of games in hand, so you know how to play the game, you want to be doing this drafting system. I think that's going to be really, really important. And this is really nice. This is literally just drafting your champions, especially if you've got only one copy and there's 2 of you playing, 1 copy of each champion. This is going to be a really nice way to play that. Competitive draft is really nice because once you get to know how to play the game and you start to learn combos of characters, you want to be banning some of those characters from your opponent. So I would say competitive draft isn't just for organised play, tournaments and stuff like that. I would say once you get to know the game and you're playing against someone who knows how to play the game, you want to be kind of doing competitive draft. But ultimately, you can do random selection, just choose some random characters that you haven't tried before, and things like that. The next one I just want to go on to is, if you go back to the back of the rulebook, you've got the keywords. You're going to be using this quite a lot, and you've also got the 4-player variant here, okay? So the keywords, you're going to be reading that a fair amount to start with until you understand what they are, which goes on to the back page as well. So a pretty good rulebook. It shows everything it wants. Now, to answer the elephant in the room, yes, did these trays need to be so big? When we look at the force of nature and the thickness of this game trays that this could have been, yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. I appreciate the fact we've got a storage solution, but it is very chunky for what it needs to be. Now, whether, I haven't actually tried it, but whether literally just cutting around the bottom, like 1 inch from the bottom, whether that will still work and it'll still stack, I don't know. The miniatures in this game are amazing. It's Mythic Games. We're used to it with Mythic Games in terms of the quality of their... Oh, sorry, I'm just going to move this a little bit. Hopefully we'll get less of a shine. So Mythic Games are really good at their miniatures. We've seen it with Joan of Arc, we've seen it with Reichbusters. Obviously Solomon Kane coming soon. I'm looking forward to those miniatures. I was lucky to demo with the with the resin copies of this over a year ago, and it was you saw the quality of the miniatures at that point, but the plastic has come out equally as good. So I'm just going to take out some of these character boxes so they're easy to reach, and then I'm going to talk about each of the characters and what they bring to the table. So your statues are here. Now, one of the problems with the statues was, of course, with this one and the bent spear. Again, as everyone's been mentioning, hot water. So if you boil some water, put it in a cup, submerge this part into the cold water, bend it, it'll be nice and soft and pliable, bend it, and then you have a cup of cold water, and then you immediately put it in the cold water. That will harden it up as well, because it's kind of thermosetting plastic. But the quality of quality of these miniatures is absolutely amazing. These are statues, right? These aren't even the playable miniatures. Now, there's been some fantastic paint jobs on social media, and I like the idea of literally having this as stone, but highlighting the sigil, so keeping this red kind of gem and a few red details up on the person itself. So that'll be, I think, a really good idea. But yeah, the absolutely brilliant Rigel there. Just look at the quality of the detail on that miniature. It's just absolutely brilliant. So I've actually got 2 sets of statues, so I'm hoping to kind of do some different paint schemes. Maybe try a marble effect and try and figure out how I would do that, but maybe a marble effect. Now, why do you get an empty space here? Because of this. Okay, this is the Force of Nature and all the characters in the core box, sleeved up, and they do just fit in these 2 sections. The quality of the card sleeves is absolutely brilliant. These card sleeves qualities are fantastic. I absolutely love them, and the art that you see in the on the cards is absolutely fantastic, and it's one of the pulls of this game is the art. Obviously, you've got your challenge deck. Now, the first important point, you get 2 sets of 11 challenge decks. So you want to split those up. They will be literally split in 2 when you get it at first. And it's so you can play 2 games at once. So especially if you've got the cardboard board and then the neoprene mat board, you can play 2 games at the same time. So don't put all those 22 to make 1 challenge deck. You'll need to separate those out to use those as separate decks. Now, the challenges are what this game's about. So it's set in the world of Fabulosa. It's the mages that basically occupy Fabulosa. They basically want for nothing, so they get a bit bored, and they want to have an arena contest. But they don't want just a normal one of the current times. They want to go back in times, different universes, different times, to pick up the best champions in their prime. And the way that it was kind of described to us was, this is like the Premier League if the UK footballers out there. And then these characters had times when they were in the lower leagues, if you like, and to get up to the stardom that they reached in each of their fields. So potentially there could be kind of like the B League squads that they could bring out to the game, which would be quite cool. So just change the cards, as it were, but keep the same characters, and it could have been them a bit earlier. There was a bit of talk of that. That'd be quite cool. But these are when they're at their prime. So when these characters are at their prime and they're fighting off against each other. So it is a sport. They've been transported to this time, so they never die. So that's why they get regenerated when they're taken out every time. So when they get knocked out, they get regenerated every time. So I'm going to bring out the cards because ultimately that's what I want to talk about. Now, in terms of storage, I've got the tokens out and I've put them in here. So we've got the victory point and the trap tokens here. These are some of the victory points. And then I've got my cardboard wounds, my cardboard cores, my plastic cores, plastic traps, plastic wounds. Until I've painted them, I prefer using the cardboard because it's a lot clearer to see, especially from across the board. You've got your first player token and your bases as well. And the bases are fine. I've had no problem with the bases. I know that people have complained about the bases being that they don't fit the miniatures. But if we move that a second, but I haven't found the same problem. I mean, they don't clicking like I don't know, like Zombicide or something like that. But once you get, and they got a bit nice thick bases, but once you kind of, well, they do click in. You've got to just make sure you click them in. So you hear that big click, and then once they're in, and then you can move them around. So that's not a problem. And obviously with a hole, just to make it easy to remove them. So a little sneak peek there. Okay, so a couple of other things. You'll notice this thing here. You'll get as a cardboard. This is for 4-player. So when you get 4-player, your normal track, you place this over here, and it basically gives you 2 areas that you're going to put your challenge deck, which is the crowd, and you're going to have 2 that you know are upcoming. So it basically got another space on the challenge track. Okay. Now, talking about the challenge track, to be honest, that is the point of the game. That's how you get your victory in the best point. Yes, taking out characters does give you 1 VP, but keeping an eye on that challenge deck is the challenge track is the most important thing, especially against your opponent, because they can score it quite easily 3 VP at the start of their turn if you're not being careful and looking at what's going on in the game. So really important to go for that. Neoprene mat. I just want to talk about this. I love the colour. It's so vibrant. Usually with neoprene mats, you get it dulled down. Okay, the colour's all dulled down, and it's not as vibrant. This is completely the opposite. Absolutely thrilled with this stitched edging, which is fantastic, and yeah, just really nice feel. I've only just got into kind of mats with Marvel Crisis Protocol, and again, that's a good mat, but not as good as this. This is absolutely fantastic. And then, of course, you've got your player mats that go with it. Yes, this is not the clearest, but to be honest, you can read it if it's your one, and once you get used to it, it's fine. But it's really nice to have these, and then they go down, and everything fits on it nice and perfect. So I'll keep that here to put my character cards as I talk about them. So, right. So first of all, I'm going to talk about Darren. And Darren is a range huntress. Okay, I love this miniature, and it's one of it is one of the favourites to play for a lot of people because you've got range and you've got support. Also, she's got an amazing reaction. Her reaction, which can be played on any character, remember, means that when you play it, you get a defense boon, and you can place Darren adjacent to the attacker. It means that you're moving outside of your turn. I can't tell you how massive being able to move outside your turn is, because you can meet objectives, and then your opponent hasn't got any cores left, and at the start of your turn, you score those objectives, and it's one of the ways to easily win a game. She's also got she's all about being traps, okay, and shooting at targets in trap hexes. So you've got the 6 trap hexes. Yes, of course, if she moves into a trap, she's going to get damaged. But if we have a little look at her card, when she levels up, and characters level up once they have taken out a character, she gains +2 while on trap hexes and do not trigger traps in Darren's hex. So once she's leveled up, she can just move into trap hexes, just stay in there. She gets her bonuses from all of her attacks. Absolutely brilliant. And just to show you, this is the card I was talking about, the reaction. So with reaction cards, unlike all other cards, you can play it on any character. And then, even though you might be playing this on, let's say, Goldar, then you place Darren after the reaction, afterwards, the attack, you place Darren next to the attacker. That can be absolutely massive for those challenge objectives, okay? Then she's got a lot of range. Which is really nice. And as I said, if you've got traps, that's pretty cool. Spring the Trap is such a good one. If the target's in a trap hex, you can play that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and she's got the other one when she's in the trap hex, which I'm missing. It seems. I'm sure it's somewhere. Okay, so that's Darren. Darren's a good ranged support character. Absolutely a really, really good character. Then we move on to Sulker. What again, a kind of fan favourite Sulker is. And Sulker is an absolutely gorgeous mini. Japanese snake idea. She is about poison. She is about manipulation. Definitely true. She's got a really powerful card, which I'm going to show you in a second. So again, I would say more a kind of poison dealing that can basically change the opponents that she attacks. So one of my favourite cards by her is Mind Control. And Mind Control, you basically force your opponent to discard their top card of their deck. Now it's random because it can be one of 3 characters, of course, but you get to force them to. Force 2 means you, as Sulker player, gets to move their miniature 2 spaces like a movement, and that means chuck them on traps. So you can already see that if you put these 2 together, you can cause someone to move onto a trap, and then you can use Darren to shoot at that person at the trap and get all those bonuses. She's also got a lot of movement, which is really nice. She's got life steal and poison, so she's got lots that she can use, which is really nice, and a double as well. What's really nice, after you play a manipulation card, you can draw one and plan one when she's leveled up. And she also gains a hit point. So she's one of those characters which actually changes in terms of our hit points. Okay, Darren wasn't. Sulker, a really nice... she's a bit of everything, really. She hasn't got a lot of ability to move characters on the board. But she has got that force too. So she has got some, but not huge amounts. But a really nice character yet again. Then we move to... Let's leave Tails, obviously. Right, let's move to Marius. Now, Marius, who's like the werewolf, the cursed. Where is he? Marius. There he is. So, Marius, is absolutely awesome miniature. Absolutely awesome miniature. I feel there's a problem with Marius. Okay, Marius is all about getting bloodied. What bloody means, he's got to get down to 3 health remaining or 4 damage on him. Then he becomes really, really powerful. The problem is, having only 3 health makes him an easy target with no defense. So he doesn't tend to work very well. I think all that needs to be done is change that to an 8. If he had 8 health, that means it's 4 health remaining, and then he can start moving him through. I think that was all he needs to do to make him. Now, would that make him OP? It possibly could do. I don't know. But because he's so important to be bloodied, to do all of his stuff, that's quite important. So he's very, very hard to kind of play. He's a hard character to play. Once he's leveled up, he gains lifesteal while he's bloodied. Now, to be honest, that's not great because you want him to be bloodied to have all of his extra abilities. So if you attack, then he gains health. Yeah, okay, he's going to be harder to take out, but then you're not going to have that bloodied ability when you next attack. So basically, if you're against Marius, don't attack him. Don't attack him, and he's not that strong. So, yeah, I feel that's a bit of a problem. It got an awesome reaction. Unfortunately, it has no defense, but all adjacent enemies suffer 2 unblockable damage. Unblockable damage is really strong in this game. But again, he hasn't got much in terms of movement. Only if he's bloodied with 1 card can he force 1. Other than that, no pushes or pulls. So his inability to kind of manipulate other enemy characters is quite massive. He can hit hard if he is bloodied, but it's hard to get him bloodied in the first place, and it's even harder to keep him alive while he is bloodied in the second place, especially if your opponent knows that. So that's Marius. Nevermoor, let's leave Nevermoor until... Sorry, bear with me a second. And so I'll leave the Force of Nature till after I've talked about this. So, one of my favourites. A very, very powerful character who's Corvash. Now, Corvash, this could be my favourite miniature. This could be my... Although all of them are so nice. Corvash is the wielder of the Scorn Blade. And he's kind of the opposite to Marius. Instead of being bloodied, he targets and hits hard for people who are bloodied. A lot easier to get done. Okay? Absolutely beautiful sculpt again. Love that. Now, Corvash, as I said, is all about getting people bloodied. Once they are, he can push. He can push just as normal. He can force one if he's bloodied. And he gets extra damage. So he hits hard and he hits really nice. I mean, look at Chop. It's such a good card. Area of effect. Now, that does affect allies as well, so you've got to be a little bit careful. But the attack gains +2 damage for each target. If you can get 3 targets, you're talking about 6 damage to each target. Can be absolutely brutal. He's also got a fantastic reaction card because it's a +2 defense. As soon as you get a +2 defense, that's a good reaction card. Also, ignores any post effects if the character is bloodied. A very, very strong, if you want a hard hitter, 8 health, and then changes to 9 health, and ignores defense if they're bloodied. So those Dugrans, they've got 6 health. If you can take 3 health off him, and you got a leveled up Corvash, ignore defense. Absolutely crazy. Corvash, extremely strong character. Hitting hard and everything else. Now, one of my favourite characters to play is Arquette the Phoenix. Okay? Just the miniatures are just out of this world. This kind of Egyptian style phoenix. Absolutely beautiful. It's going to be lovely to paint. Well, all of them are going to be lovely to paint. Arquette's got a bit of defense, which is good. So some armor and 7 health, moving up to 8 health on the leveled up side. He's all about swooping around, not huge amounts of damage, but can manipulate the board well. Okay, so for example, Take Flight is a fantastic card. It's a skill, so you can't react against it. Swoop 4, which means you're going in a straight line up to 4, but you can ignore enemies, traps, and pillars and all that stuff, so you can just go through anything. And then to place the first champion swoop through adjacent to Arquette. So if you need to control the yellow zone and you're over here, you can basically use Arquette to swoop through and then place adjacent to this statue, or let's say you're here and here, you swoop through to here, you place him adjacent, and suddenly you've got your 2 characters with 1 move in the scoring zone, and you're looking happy. So really nice card for manipulation. He's got push 2 as an automatic effect. Really nice. A really interesting mechanic in terms of the reaction. Basically, and remember you can place on any character, if one of your characters gets taken out, you can play from the ashes and you put them back adjacent to the attacker at full health. Now, the problem is they have been taken out. So your enemy still gets a VP. That character that took him out still levels up. But again, because you're trying to hit these challenges, and they might have taken out one of your characters to stop you from scoring that, and that was their last action, you play that, you bring them back, and you put them back into the area, and you score it. Really important. It is a red reaction, which are the worst ones to have, because obviously your red ones are your strong attacks. But really nice. Got some healing, got some extra ones. A swoop 3. Really nice deck of cards. It's got some manipulation. It's got a lot of movement. And it's really nice for objective play. So that's Arquette. Really like that character. Okay, next. A staple. One of the original 6. Darren, the Dwarf. Okay, again, I mean, I've seen this painted loads because it's such a nice miniature. Now, he is Tanki. He's your tank. Your classic tank, okay, Darren. Only 6 health, but 2 shield, 2 defense. That's massive. Most importantly, when he levels up, he goes to 7 health. So if you need to bloody Darren, he's got to go down to 3 health remaining. That's quite hard to do. And you can't attack unless he is the target. So you suddenly got this 2 defense with a leveled up Darren. It makes him really, really tanky and a bit more kind of like taunting. His reactions are right. Unfortunately, it's a red card again, but it negates any displacement effects caused by attack. So if you've got pushes, pulls, forces, any stuff like that, it basically stops it. which is really nice. He also has a push effect, which is really nice. He's also got each adjacent enemy suffers push. So he's kind of like, he's really good for to push characters out of the way. So when he's in close vicinity of those enemies, he can push them away. So really nice. Imagine Gimli jumping onto in the second film, in Helm's Deep, jumping on that bridge and literally pushing all of those orcs off the bridge. That's kind of his jam. He's slow movement. He is slow movement. A lot of his cards are one movement. But he's got a really nice one where he can attack an adjacent enemy, and then his allies gain +2. So if you want to kind of like combo him up against people, he can do that. He's a really, really solid choice as a tank. If you want that defense, if you want that kind of taunt ability, he's really good. He is slow though. So trying to get to these objectives could be a bit of a problem. But there's ways around that with the combos of characters. Right, moving on. We got Kalel. I'm going to keep saying this. The miniature's lovely on this one. They're driving this kind of dragon dinosaur, and got that Aborigine kind of that Amazon rainforest style look to Kalel herself. She's the jungle typhoon, and if we talk about movement, she's probably the fastest mover in the game. 8 health, so decent amount of health. Doesn't change when it's on the back. A really quite an average reaction. It's a +1 defense, and the attacker suffers stun. You know, stun's getting rid of your enemies' cards. It's always quite good, but her abilities are her strength. Jump 3 before you do an area attack 3, and then you push. Does damage. If damage done, now it only does 1 damage, so this is quite hard to do. If someone plays a reaction, you're pretty much not going to do it. But if you do, you get pull 2 and stun. Jump 3 attack, and then jump 3 again. She's got poison with a poison dart, and then she's got a really good support ability where she draws 3 and plans 3. Planning in this game is really important. It's a mechanic, which is the standard action of the blue core, where you choose a card from your hand and place it on top of your draw deck. It's to mitigate, in part, the idea of drawing all blue cards, all red cards, all yellow cards. If you're doing that, if you draw a handful of 5 blue cards on one of your turns, you know you're going to be drawing mostly yellow and red the next few turns. So what you probably want to be doing, although if it's all blue cards, that's going to really hamper you, you want to be doing some planning. So you can put one of those blue cards up the top of the deck, and you know you're going to get a good range of those coloured cores. But she's really, really mobile. She doesn't hit massively hard, not bad, but her mobility is her strength. Absolutely fantastic for speeding around the board. Okay, next one. Someone I really want to like, and I've tried to play a lot. He's quite hard to play, and let's put him on his normal side. The reason why, he's very squishy. 0 defense with 6 health. Very squishy. He does go up to 7 health when he does get leveled up. But again, good movement, good attacks. But the thing he doesn't have, which is a real problem, is any manipulation of target enemies. Can't push, can't pull, can't force, can't fear. That's pretty bad. I do really like his reaction. His reaction is extremely strong because it's another one where you get to move your character out of your activation. Extremely strong. It means you can win the game out of your turn. And because you score these challenges at the start of your turn, that is massive. It also gives you a +1 in terms of your defense. And it's a jump. So you can go over statues, you can go over traps, you can go over characters. Really, really, really strong in terms of its reaction play. He's got some really nice attacks. I've got to be honest. He's got a bit of movement and he's got some quite strong attacks. But he is very, very fragile. And that's Wrath's problem. So he's got good movement. He's got good strength attack. He's got a fantastic reaction card, which isn't red. It's yellow, by the way. But he's very, very squidgy, which is his negative. But if you want to take a support character, I suppose, you could take Wrath. Or instead of Marius or Kalel, I would say that's Wrath's kind of jam. Right, next. And I didn't even get the figure out to show you. That's pretty poor form. Sorry about that. Wrath is the kind of rat mole burrower. Fantastic. I love it. It's got these massive claws that he digs underground with. And the base is just fantastic. It shows him spurting out of the ground. Absolutely phenomenal. And these miniatures are really solid as well. You know, you're not going to be afraid of damaging these miniatures. Obviously, you don't want to and don't purposely do so. But like I was saying, if you want to play with kids, you can be pretty happy that they're not going to damage these miniatures, which is really, really important. So next we have the glass cannon, which is Gawain. Again, a beautiful miniature. She is has got the strongest base attacks in the game. Okay, she's all about damage, and not just damage to one character, with splash damage, which is massive for those Dugrans, those Loreleis, which we'll look at in a bit. Her two strongest ones that she's got are Fireball and Chain Lightning. It's called the ultimate combo. Fireball, 3 damage, 2 to 3 away. Now, if you do see a range, that target has to be within that range. If you don't see a range, like this, then it can be anywhere up to that range, okay? So with Fireball, 3 damage on the target, but then 2 damage to each champion adjacent to the target. This is if you can get these two on your turn 1 with Gawain, or if you're playing against Gawain, be aware of this combo. Because if you deploy your 3 characters close to each other, all Gawain will do is just move and then hit the middle one, and then she's going to do a lot of damage, because Chain Lightning is also 2 to 3 range, 3 damage, and if damage is dealt, 2 damage to another champion within 2 hexes. That could be 4 damage to another champion, and that could be Lorelei taken out with 2 cards. Very, very strong, and not to mention that she could potentially take out a Wrath or another Gawain with just the attacks as normal. Now, obviously, that depends if the reaction is played, of course. But really, really powerful attacks. Flame Spear, 3 damage, push 1. Ignite, just her weakest attack, 2 damage, but her allies gain plus 2 damage. And Teleport is a good way of getting around the board. So you'll notice this is quite a nice combo. Teleport, Jumper 4, to get in range of both Fireball and Chain Lightning. Huge, huge combo of cards. I really love it. And a reaction's alright. It's plus 1. It's really good against ranged attacks against you, because if it's not adjacent, you get plus 2. So it's instead, so you're getting plus 2 defense instead of plus 1. A pretty standard reaction, to be honest. But 6 health, no defense. That's pretty bad. Her level up ability is fantastic. It basically increases the range band. So instead of being 3 to 5, it'll be 2 to 6. Instead of your Fireball being 2 to 3, it'll be 1 to 4. Absolutely massive when this happens, because you can keep her out of harm's way then. She's the glass cannon. She's a fantastic character to play. She's all about damage. True damage. Right, next. I know I keep saying probably my favourite character, but probably my favourite character again. Goldar the Pirate. Now, Goldar... I forgot about this miniature as well. Probably one of my favourite miniatures. I've said this about 5 times now. He's got the anchor that he's swinging around. Little bent spear there, not too bad. But look at the detail in that miniature. Just beautiful. So cannot wait to paint these, as I keep saying. 1 armor, 8 health. He's tanky. Stays the same when he's leveled up. He's got a bit of everything. He's got some quite good damage. He's got push and pull, some really good push and pull as well. He can boost his allies, so +1/+1, which is very similar to Shuzao. This one attacks 2 to 3, only does 1 damage, but it pulls 2. That's huge. 2 damage attack normal. Come to his reaction soon. He's got 1 attack that can attack up to 3 guys and push all of them. 1. Really nice. He can dash 5, so he can get far with set sail. His attack, again, he's got a mediocre reaction, and the fact it's red core makes it worse. +1 in defense, yeah, alright. Suffers fear 2. It means that they have to move away in a straight line as long as they finish further than they started next to you. Okay? So potentially it can work fear, but it's not push and pull, it's not automatic damage. A really nice set of cards, a very all-rounder. He's a massive all-rounder. He's tanky, he can hit, pretty good. His damage and his attacks aren't strong, but his push and pull techniques, that's where the damage comes in. You pull a Dugran who's adjacent to you, 2, and that's 2 unblockable damage straight to Dugran. Huge. So Goldar, really, really nice, kind of all-rounder, as it were. Talking about all-rounders, you've got Shuzao. Now, problem with my Shuzao, and you'll probably see it, he's a bit of a disadvantage. He's only got missing an arm. Now, I've seen posts that there have been some problems with this particular miniature. I think all the other miniatures have been absolutely brilliant and perfect. But he, for some reason, has some mould effects. So I literally didn't have the spare arm. It was literally just an arm missing. Bit of a shame. I'm not going to be painting him up anytime soon. But Mythic Games are very good at getting replacements to you, but it could take a little while. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to paint Shuzao up. And he is he's a staple in terms of characters to take. He has 0 defense, but 9 health. That's strong. He levels up, same. He's got good movement. He's got the boon. So now this is not allies. Your champions gain +1/+1, including him. That is huge. All 3 of your champions for that turn get +1 damage, +1 move. Huge. You got to do the 1 movement before that. He's got a pull effect with 2 damage, with 2 range as well. A nice solid card. He's got adjacent 2 damage, where he can dash 2 to start with, so it's a good way of like jumping in there, and then he does a double strike, double the damage that's caused in that attack. I'm going to leave the 2 best cards to the end. Pounce, jump 3, do a damage, but look, push 1 again. Being able to push, I can't stress how being able to push and pull characters in this game is so important. It drops them out of this challenge track and out of those objectives. Probably his best card, and maybe even the best card in the game. Movement 2, attacking 3 adjacent characters and deal damage to each target until they're bloodied. Remember, you do damage rounded up to half their health. So if they've got 7 health, you're going to do 4 damage. If they've got 8 or 9 health, you're doing 5 damage with 1 card. It is not, this is the strongest bit, it's not an attack. You can't react against it. It just happens. It just happens. That's what makes that the strongest card, in my opinion, probably in the game. He's got a really nice reaction. It doesn't give any defense. That's important. But if you're not taken out of action, the attacker suffers the same amount of damage. So if you get Gawain shooting a fireball at Shuzao, which they may well do, and you've got this, it doesn't even have to be at Shuzao, at any of the characters in your team, and you've got this card, play this, and you're hitting 3 damage straight back on Gawain, which could take her out, which means that you get the victory point and she doesn't. A really, really nice reaction. Shuzao is a very good character. He's kind of going to be a staple, I believe, in most people's teams, especially when we get to tournament play. You put Shuzao with Corvash, and then Shuzao can bloody all the characters, and then Corvash can come in with all of Zub attacks on bloody characters. Absolutely huge combo, and I've seen it used to great effect. And there is Darren's last card that I was trying to find, which is when she is on Trap Hex, she gets to push and do more damage. Really, really strong. The final character, before we get on to Force of Nature, is Kilgore. Kilgore is a big orc. He's a Ravager. Again, if you want damage, if you want a little bit of manipulation as well. Relentless Attack. This, even though it said, oh, sorry, it's not attack, that's why. Relentless Advance. This is not an attack. So if you look at the top corner, if it's a cog, it's a skill, which means you cannot react against it. If it's a kind of like explosion symbol, that's an attack. You can react against it. So this, you literally force 1. But not only that, so you get to move them wherever you want, onto a trap or whatever it was, or out of the objective. You get to place them on the original hex. Absolutely awesome. Pretty good, pretty good. He gets +1, but he gets the character who plays this gets +2 until the end of the turn. So if you play this on a character that you know is going to get hit on a lot in their turn, you can play this reaction. They're going to get +1 defense for that particular attack, but then they're going to get +2 for the rest of the turn, which makes them pretty much undefeatable in a way. I mean, there are cards that can go against that. Again, problem is it's a red core. This is fantastic. If you're taking Darren, take Kilgore, because what he can do is mitigate his slow movement by lobbing him 3 spaces ahead. You move Kilgore 2, and then one of your adjacent allies can jump 3, literally throw him over statues. Really thematic. I love that one. Thrash is a really nice attack, but it does push 2. Absolutely brilliant that you can manipulate that board. Look at this Fury. Attack everyone adjacent to you by 2. If you can if the enemies clump their allies together, maybe they're trying to put all their miniatures adjacent to the same statue, send him in, and he can damage them all. And then he gets to heal 1. And then lifesteal. It is situational, this one. But if this is your first action, so let's say your opponent unwittingly left someone next to Kilgore and you've got this, you play this as your first one, you're going to have 2 ready cores. That gives you +4. That's a 5 damage attack going in. Absolutely awesome. With lifesteal, he's going to heal with that. Kilgore is all about bashing people adjacent to him, getting him right into the fray and keeping him there, holding objectives is kind of a good way to think about it, to be honest. And as I was saying, with Darren, he's quite good because Darren's reaction is that they cannot be moved. So you play that on Kilgore, and then when they're trying to move you out of the way, they can't, because you basically cause that reaction. A really nice combo, those 2 together. Kilgore, another great one. So in terms of the retail version, so if people, you play with people and they want to buy it, I think there's still some copies left on the e-store, by the way, they can go for the core box. The core box is going to come with the 6 original characters. Gawain, Darren, Goldar, Darren, Shuzao, and Kilgore. They are the original 6, and that's what you're going to get in the retail. You're going to get the cardboard board, and there's already pre-orders on many sites, and I think it's about £30. It's not a lot at all. When you consider what you're getting, all the tokens, all the cards, of course. You won't get the card sleeves, and I've told how impressed I am with these card sleeves. They're absolutely brilliant. But you're not going to get those, obviously, as well. So with those 6 miniatures, you can certainly play your heart's content. You'll have your base 6 miniatures. You can play 3v3. You would have to draft from those 6 characters, of course, but you can still play the game. That's the important thing. And once you play this game, trust me, everyone will love it. I've played all different people who like all different kinds of games, and this is the game that they really, really enjoy of mine. Even though it's miniatures, that's not its focus. I know the miniatures are lovely, and it makes it look so nice on the board. But it's the gameplay. It's the quick, reactive gameplay, trying to appease the crowd. This is the main point. As the crowd ask you to do stuff, their challenges, it starts off quite low in terms of rewards. But as we get into the heat of the battle, with that challenge, it's worth 2 VP. Remember, 5 VP, and you immediately win that round and that game. But then, if you leave it too long, they get bored and it drops off the end. Okay, so I love this mechanic of the challenge board. And talking about the challenge board, we've got the grandstands where we place your challenge cards. If I can get them out, so you place your challenge cards. Whoops, if I put them the right way, onto there, and you can have up to 5 going along there. So this would go over here, matching the spaces exactly. Okay, and then you've got the second grandstand, if you've gone for the grandstand, where you put your victory points. Okay, so where this one here, you place your little these awesome victory point miniatures. I can't wait to start. And one player and the other player, so you might have that over at the back. Okay, and then you start to build it up, and then the first one to get to 5, wins that round, that game. So they're quite nice. They're quite excessive, but as a bit of bling and as a bit of visual representation, it's really nice. Okay, so now we move on to Force of Nature. So that's the Superfan. Was that the Superfan? I don't know if the Force of Nature came with Superfan. I'm not sure. But the big white box, they're the characters you get with that. Okay. Now, I wanted to show you, this is just a little bit of information about what's on it. and some... Cool. Now look, why they couldn't do the trays this size instead of this size, I think that's what people are complaining so much about, is that surely you could have done it smaller. And potentially you could have had it a little bit like this, where you got 3 characters and then their decks. I mean, that could have happened. Now, it's neither here or there, but I really like this insert. But you know, you could put your if I just bring them out a minute, you can put your 3 characters decks sleeve, and they fit perfectly flush there. So this would be perfect. You know, there's a little carry case. You can carry those 3 miniatures, and it's just because what I think they've done is these molds. I think, yeah. If you look at these molds, they're identical, apart from the inner parts, but the actual the main parts of the molds are identical, so they pretty much stack exactly on each other. So I think it was ease of manufacture for game trays. That is why they've been done like this. But you know, you've got, like I said, about a good inch of kind of wasted space, which is a shame, because other than that, I love the fact we got a storage solution. Right, the best, in my opinion, the best support character in the game, Lorelei. So she's going to be one of the, when retail comes, she's one of the 3 new characters in that retail. Obviously, if you back the Kickstarter Force of Nature, you're going to get her in that. For only 4 health, that looks terrible. But 2 armor, good. You do not want her to be up in people's grill, okay? She is support, mostly. She has arguably the best upgrade ability. She keeps the same stats, that's important. But you get to draw 2 additional cards in the upkeep phase. So you're going to be having 7 cards each turn while she's on the board leveled up. I can't tell you how massive that is. That gives you so many options. Draw 1, plan 5, but you get to move 3. She's got a lot of movement, which is really nice. Grasping Vines. Move 1. Target something 2 away. Place target adjacent to Lorelei. This may target allies. So she can basically move characters from one place to another. Again, we're talking about this objective play, about those challenge decks. Healing Rain. Move 3 first. Then discard up to 4 cards from your hand and heal which of the characters that those cards belong to. 1 for each of those cards discarded. She can heal everyone. They don't even have to be in range. Just literally on the board. Winding Path, a 2 damage, and then you swap the target location with another enemy champion. So if you got Gawain, who's holding back and she's miles away, and you got Shuzao there. Sorry, I haven't even been showing you the miniature. Look at this. With her snake familiar that she rides around. Such a beautiful miniature. So if she's here, to be honest, she doesn't even have to be adjacent. If she's here, she basically attacks Shuzao, and then you swap her out and you bring Gawain up, and then you pound on Gawain and take her out. Really nice. A very, very nice attack. It is situation. The range is its biggest weakness with this card. Okay, so it's move 1 and then 3 to 4. It has to be 3 to 4 away, but 3 damage and it ignores defense. Now remember, most reactions you play to get extra defense to stop the damage. Pointless against this card. Absolutely pointless against this card. This against another Lorelei or a Dugrin is huge. It literally just goes straight through. Really, really cool. She hasn't got a great reaction. That's her disadvantage, okay? It's +1 defense, average, okay. But if no damage was dealt, you heal 3. That's really nice. But no damage dealt is probably not going to happen. It rarely has happened to me. So, Lorelei, a very, very strong character. Don't be fooled by her 4 health. Yes, she can be pushed onto traps, which could basically do 3 unblockable damage, which takes it to 1. And then you do a red core, standard action, and she's out. So, yes, she can be taken out relatively easily. But with her movement, keep her away from the fray. You don't need to. Nature's Wrath's the only one you need to go. And Nature's Wrath, remember, is range 3 to 4. So you can be quite far away to do her. Obviously, that means she's not phenomenal at objective play. So that's why she's a support character, and you need to get along with her some Corvashes or some Kilgores or some Goldars, so some quite beastie heavy hits and Dugrans that can do objective play. And then she's very, very powerful. Okay, moving on. We got Nevermoor. Oh, I love Nevermoor. The dark, what's he called? The Shade. The Shade. Look at this miniature. I keep saying this, I know. But just look at the miniatures. Absolutely awesome. Not a bent spear here, because of, I would say, because of this insert. It's a fantastic insert. I'm going to keep going on about it. I love the Force of Nature's insert. I just wish the rest were like the same. Okay, moving on then. So now we're talking about Nevermoor. Really tanky. 1 defense with 8 health. Staying the same when leveled up. He's got good movement. He's a bit of an all-rounder again. Doesn't hit for super hard, but in situations he can do. So Dark Envoy, move 2, attack for 1, and then plan 2 after an attack. Really nice support. Move 1, swoop 4. Enemies suffer 1 unblockable damage and fear 1. They have to move away. Again, manipulation of the board. This is really strong. You move him 2, and then you place one of Nevermoor's allies adjacent to Nevermoor, and that ally gains +1. So your Dugran can be right on your deployment area. You put Nevermoor next to an objective, next to another character, and you say, right, I'm going to move to wherever I need to be, like here, and then I'm going to place Dugran all the way over here and attack your character with +1 with Dugran. That's so cool. So he's actually a really good support character. Just a 2 damage, 2 range attack. It's kind of standard attack with lifesteal, so that's always good. This tends to happen a lot more than you would imagine. Move 2, attack adjacent for 2. It gains +2 damage if no allies are within 2. You tend to get isolated characters. That tends to happen a relative amount of time. So that actually pulls off a 4 damage attack pretty often, which is really nice. Unfortunately, another red reaction card. Only +1 in defense, so average. If he's within 2 hex of the attacker, ignore any post effects. And end all other lasting effects, like root, for example. So, it's not bad, but it's certainly not his strong point. By the way, his level up, this is really nice. Check this out. Enemies adjacent to Nevermoor cannot be targeted by an opponent's reaction. So, when an opponent reacts, when they play a reaction card, if that enemy is adjacent to Nevermoor, they can't. Now, it doesn't have to be Nevermoor attacking, remember. They can't. Really, really nice in terms of making sure to guarantee that you're going to do that damage, that you're going to do that situation that you need to do on the attack. Fantastic. Really, really strong character again. Very, very similar to Goldar, I would say. These two are very similar. I would say Goldar's got more of that push-pull mechanic. Nevermoor's not got that much for manipulation of enemies, but he's very, very, very strong for support. Finally, the big man himself, Taze. Taze is a brute, the thundering thriller. He's all about dashing around. Remember, dash is in a straight line of hexes up to that value. He's got 9 health. So, to be honest, he's got the same health as Shuzao, which is a bit crazy. But I guess the way to thematically think about it is that Shuzao is hard to hit. His dexterity is his health, maybe. That's what I'm thinking. Whereas Taze, who's just a massive brute, is all about doing damage, getting up there. Very similar to Kilgore in the sense of trying to get up there and just do damage, okay, and be in the fray. But he's got a much better movement compared to the other ones. Move 2. Enemies move through suffer 2 unblockable damage. I know it's only move 2, but if you can get an ally which gives him +1 movement and +1 damage, suddenly got 3 movement, that's massive. Move 2. Taze or an ally may dash 2. In other words, that could be a Taze moving 4. Charge. Move 1, dash 3, and then gain +1 damage for each hex dash through. So you want to be doing this for a dash of 3, going 3 spaces forward. But then it's going to be a 4 damage attack. Attack. First of all, dash 2. Remember, just in case you're wondering, if it's got the arrow going before the attack, it means you do this before the attack. If it's got after the attack, like this stun, like the arrow is going after the attack, it's a reaction done after the attack, or an ability. Okay, so where was I doing? Yeah, so this is, you dash 2 first, then it's a 3 damage attack. If it's bloodied, so if it's got half health or lower, then it ignores defense. So again, those Dugrans, those Loreleis, can basically, as the name suggests, finishing blow. Bludgeon, 2 range, 2 damage attack with stun, getting rid of one of your opponent's cards. I was going to say it's not a great reaction, but it's got that movement out of activation. Remember, we've only had 3 of those now. There's only 3 reaction cards that are movement outside of activation. It's not massive, it's only dash 1, so it has to be a straight line and you're stopped by obstacles. But it could mean you winning the game out of your turn. +1 defense is never strong. It's never nothing to sniff at. It's also blue, which is probably the weakest attacks. So, you know, that could be quite good. Because when you play a reaction, you play it in your opponent's turn, you exhaust your core, which means you cannot use it in your turn. So you've got to be careful to use reactions, that you don't want to be doing stuff in your next turn. That's going to be massive. So, that's Force of Nature, and that's the characters. So, I appreciate it's quite long-winded, but I just wanted to give a flavour of what each of the characters are like. In terms of combos, how you would do a competitive draft. So what I would say is once you and your opponent, if you've got a regular opponent, once you really know how to play the game, you want to be doing competitive draft, okay? Because you want to be stopping uber combos. I've already mentioned it before. Corvash, alongside Shuzao. This combo, very strong. He can bloody them with Flash of Rage, and then Corvash, most of his attacks are working on being bloody, especially if he's leveled up. Those two together, really, really, really strong. All you need to do then is, once you've got these two, is get a support character or range character. Someone like Darren, someone like Lorelei. Lorelei would be fantastic. Someone like Sulker would be brilliant. Even Nevermoor. Remember, Nevermoor can boost his allies. So really nice combo with those two. I really like Dugran and Kilgore. If you're talking about a really nice combo for a core set, I would say Dugran, Kilgore, and Darren are a really, really nice combo. You've got the slow movement of Dugran, which is being counteracted by the throw from Kilgore. You've got Kilgore and Dugran, which are basically objective holders. Absolutely fantastic, that. And you've got Darren jumping around, firing at range, going on traps, which, remember, traps, being on trap hexes can be one of the objectives. So that really plays into Darren's favour. And then you kind of, in terms of other, Lorelei is a fantastic support character. I think she's probably the best support character. So she's really strong to have. Arquette's good at movement and moving other people, and again, a little bit of a support. I've just mentioned about Gawain. She's squishy. She's gonna die. She's gonna die probably quite a lot. She's gonna be the target of people's attacks. But she can do a lot of damage. And if she levels up, if she takes out a character, which is probably quite likely, she levels up, you can be far away and not worry about getting attacked unless you've got certain cards. Goldar's one of my favourites. His ability to push pull, pretty decent damage, boosts his allies. Really, really nice fit character. So what have we got? We've done those two. Certainly done. Oh yeah. Sorry, I completely forgot about Taze. Taze, a little bit like Dugran and Kilgore, really, really strong character to take on if you want a tank that does a lot of damage. So again, depends what you want to do. You could take these three, and it'll just be damage central. So if you want to have a go at major damage, those three would be pretty sound to take. You got Kalel, who, as I showed you, really good at moving around the board. Doesn't hit massive, but really good for moving around and trying to hit those objectives. So the best mover in the game, I would say. Sulker, great. She's great at manipulating, at doing some damage. She's a really nice kind of all-rounder, I would say. She's got a decent amount of health. She's an all-rounder, a good all-rounder. Wrath is good, hard to play because he's so squishy, like Gawain, but he hasn't got anywhere near the damage output that Gawain has. He's got a phenomenal reaction card that you can use. So I think that reaction card is probably one of the strongest in the game, even though it doesn't give you, or does it even give you, I'm thinking it might give you 1 defense, I can't remember now. But a fantastic reaction card. He can do damage, and he can basically do some unblockable damage and just jump over next to an ally to take objective. So he has got some fantastic plays in mind, but he's a harder character to play. Poor Marius. I think this is the weakest character in the set because of the nature of what he wants to do. He wants to be bloodied. Now, if your opponent knows that, he's basically not going to attack Marius unless they desperately need to. Therefore, a tactic with Marius, if you're playing Marius, is to run into traps and try and take damage yourself. That runs a risk, because if you get root, you're stuck in place and you're not going to finish off the attack, and you won't be able to move him for the rest of the turn. So that's kind of made him defunct. If he takes a lot of damage, it makes him squishier and easier to kill on, let's say, with Shuzao's reaction. He does 3 damage, you do 3 damage back to him, he's dead. So you suddenly get the VP. When he is bloodied, he's got some very strong attacks. So he can do some strong attacks. I just feel it's not going to happen that frequently. You're going to be, when you get bloodied, you're going to be the main target, and you will get taken out. It's pretty much guaranteed. If you're not bloodied, you're not much of a threat. So it's got that problem, that double-edged problem Marius has, in my opinion, that he has got that issue. He's got a good, strong, quite a strong reaction card to do that 2 unblockable to adjacent characters. I mean, that's always very strong. That potentially could take out a lot, especially because you don't have to do it on him. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's going to be your hardest one to fit in the team. I'm not saying don't play him, because when he does work, he's actually really good fun, and he can actually do a lot of damage. He can give you a lot of output. But I just feel once your opponent knows what Marius is and how he plays, they will not attack him unless they desperately have to for an objective, because they don't want to wound him because he's not that strong. And when he is bloodied and he is powerful, he's easy to take out. Okay, so that's a little synopsis of maybe some of the combos, how they play. It's like any game, right? You're going to try different characters that you like the look of, like how they play, try them together. Certainly in the first instance, you're hopefully just choosing 3 characters you want to play rather than doing a competitive draft. But as I said, as you start to get a little bit better, and certainly as your opponent gets a little bit better as well, you might want to do the competitive draft, which is basically taking 5 characters, okay? Then your opponent bans one of those. So that you look to see what the combos are and you go, well, okay, you've got Darren. Oh, that's quite a good team, actually. I don't want you to have Shuzao. So you ban Shuzao, and then you will draft 3. Okay, so that's kind of how it would work. Okay? But, my word, is it a fun game. I highly recommend getting it open and getting it played if you're able to. As I said, if you've got teenagers, particularly teenagers, they'll love this. They will honestly love them. Girl, boy, whatever. They will enjoy this game because it's so easy to pick up and just play very basically, like, I just want to move and attack. I say not worrying about this challenge track. You should always worry about the challenge track. But if you just want to learn the game, that doesn't have to be the focus, right? Right, the last thing I wanted to show you is the character decks, character sleeves. So you've got Darren, Arquette, and Goldar as the ones that we could get. Okay. And they're lovely. I love the art on these. I mean, look at Gold. I just love Goldar. They're same stock as the ones that you got before. And you get, I think it's 33 or something. 33 of these, which is really nice because that means that you can get all 5 of your competitive draft characters pool into one sleeve. Obviously, you don't put just Goldar's cards into this sleeve because it'd be obvious which cards are Goldar's. That's not what they're for. They're to build your deck, your player deck for all 5 characters. Okay, so you can take this to like organised play as one of those characters. So that was a nice little addition that I'm looking forward to using. Obviously, if you've got like a really favourite team of 5, then you can just chuck them in one of those. But yeah, that was the other one. So that's a little bit about Super Fantasy Brawl and what's in the box, and more importantly, how the characters play. That's what I really wanted this video to talk about. Unfortunately, my Shuzao is armless. Hopefully, I'll get that sorted soon. But that does mean I'm not going to be able to paint him. I'm planning on getting stuff painted starting tonight with undercoat. And I'm going to be doing, certainly on the first instance, I'm going to be doing some contrast. I'm pretty much solely contrast with the exception of metals. Metals, I'm going to do the lead belcher and then the contrast over that. I'm hoping to maybe live stream some of the painting. So I'll make sure I post a link on Discord and Facebook. But at the very least, I'll record a video like this about those painting and see what you think, and maybe pick up some techniques, and we'll see how it goes. I love the vibrancy of contrast paints, and that's what I want my miniatures to look. I want them to look vibrant. I want them to look colourful. I want them to pop on the board. You've already got a very vibrant board, so it'd be really cool to have vibrant miniatures on that board. So stay tuned for that. Maybe I'll get some playthroughs through, and a little bit of a teaser. I'm also started working on a solo variant for Super Fantasy Brawl. I'm going to be working over it for the next 3 weeks, and then I will post a video of me playing with the solo. Once I get to a stage where we can actually play it, then I'll post any files, any stuff that I have up onto social media, and then people can give it a go. All you will need is the characters. You're going to use the same board. What am I thinking? Same board, same characters, same character cards, but not their actual deck. Okay, so I can't see how you can make a solo variant using the same cards. You can't be reactive. An AI can't be reactive, really. Not randomly with 3 characters. So I'm going to do it slightly different, but I will be posting up videos, as I say, about probably 2 weeks' time, showing what I've come up with so far. So I've only literally just started thinking about it, so I haven't created it yet. But hopefully within about 2 weeks, I'll have that solo variant. I think, especially in the times we find ourselves, I want to be playing this all the time. So if I can come up with a kind of solo variant, I think that's going to really help for me to be able to play it a lot more. My son, unfortunately, is only not even 4 years old, so he'll be playing with these miniatures, I can guarantee that, but he won't be playing the game. He won't be able to play the game, obviously. Cool. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe if you wanna see my future videos, Super Fantasy Brawl, of painting. Also, a bit of discussion about the characters, some play sessions. I've played this a fair amount on Tabletopia before we got this physical version through. And Thagor on Discord has just announced that Season 2 of the French League is starting up very soon. So there's places available for that. So if you're interested in that, get onto Discord, get onto the French conversation channel, and get yourself enrolled in that, especially if you're French speaking. I think it's just for the French players. I could be wrong there, but I believe it's just for the French players. There was talk about Mythic kind of running maybe a Tabletopia tournament as well. So keep your ears peeled and your eyes open, maybe the other way around, on whether that's going to happen. It'd be really nice, even if it's playing on Tabletopia, it'll be nice to keep playing the game. It's such a fantastic game to play. And we're looking forward to quarter one of 2021 for the retail version. So King Alistar and Kalel, I think she's called, are the 2 new characters to this set. Obviously, Lorelei's coming to that for any of the retail purchases. About £9 for a character box with a character trays, pack, and all the rest of it. So really, really nice. And obviously, Game Trays are doing their own Feldheer, not Game Trays, Feldheer are doing their own carry bag for miniatures. So I'm not getting that, but I believe when that gets delivered by Feldheer, we'll see some photos of that, and that could be really, really handy to have as well. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying your Super Fantasy Brawl experiences, and you're enticing the new players to play the game as well. Yeah, hit like, hit subscribe, please comment below with anything you've got. Bye for now.